Hello everybody, Blake Grutis here with my dog Nugget over here. He usually hangs out over there, but I guess he wants to be a part of this one today. We have another good critique session coming up here with F64 Elite member Jane Pittenger's image. Before we do that, we have a comment and a twist. A comment comes from D&D Parks. They were talking about the reflected gradient that I did yesterday and how cool it was to be able to bend that. That was a huge thing. I could have copied and pasted every comment because that was really cool. But he also just wanted to say, I want to let you know my wife, a non-photographer, looks forward to these every morning while we enjoy our morning coffee. That's so cool. And we've got our twist here from Mary Lisa Trigilio. I probably butchered that one as I usually do, but the twist is, can you use a tool to reduce color intensity, the visionary panel, or some other way? Selecting most saturated colors or warm colors, for example. I have trouble with getting contrast and tone where I want, but then the colors seem too intense. Thanks. So this is actually a great twist or challenge. It's actually more of a teaching moment than it is a twist or a challenge. And it just so happens that the randomizer picked a great image for this. Jane's image is going to be great to talk about this. And the shocking thing is, while you're focused on color, it might not actually be the color that's the issue to begin with. And the answer to your question or your twist is in your twist. So stick around though. At the very end of this, after we talk about the donation amount, we've got a special message from SJ from Give Kids Art for the F64 Elite community. You're not going to want to miss this. Wow, this image from Jane Pittenger is really just about this gorgeous foggy morning in the Grand Canyon. And it's almost like you can feel the fog just lifting up and swirling around you. And I can almost imagine standing there on this, looking into the Grand Canyon, and I'm imagining that this fog is moving fast, that every frame that you photograph from this could really be a new treasure with a new design made by the fog. That's at least how my brain is working here. It could be a slow-moving fog, I don't know. But with these wispy cloud-like shapes, it feels as if this would have been one of those playgrounds where you could just shoot all day long, well, at least until the fog burned off, to get some beautiful patterns with that fog. And I think you captured a wonderful pattern here, as the fog is almost, it's more about the fog and the interplay with the fog, I think, than it is about the Grand Canyon. You know, you could almost have photographed this anywhere, and it would have been just as beautiful of a sight, because that fog brings a level of mystery to us as human beings, right? You know, anytime you want something to feel mysterious in a movie, they put a fog machine in there. Anytime they want to set the mood in a concert, they put the fog machine on, right? So that just sets the mood. You've got this beautiful fog machine in the Grand Canyon working for you. Now, when it comes to the disconnect actually comes from the challenge that was put forward, or the twist that was put forward. I just feel as if the color is slightly too intense, but it's really not that intense. The thing is here, my workflow goes tone, color, effects, always tone, color, effects. If I get the baseline set for the tones, then sometimes the colors just fall in line. Or sometimes I'll set the tones, it'll change the shape or the intensity of the colors, and then I need to work on the color work. So this will actually show us that. It'll show us what happens when the underpainting of your tones is really well set, then the colors just fall in place. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is focus on what's happening in between the fog and the fog itself. You know, and trying to create masks for these is actually a very difficult task. But in the visionary panel, I have these two new buttons. There's the shadows M and the brights M. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press these. M just stands for mask. This is a shadows mask, meaning the bulk of the shadows, which actually is in between all of that cloud work. Perfect selection for that. Now we're going to do a brights mask. Now that brights mask should be everything that's the opposite. And if we look at these masks, it's pretty darn close. So this is essentially separated out for me where the shadows are and where the highlights are. And Mary's request was about how to work with color, but sometimes we do this thing. You know, when I was in the Air Force, I went to accident investigation school, and it was part of my job as in my career field to study any accidents that might happen that will be related to my career field. And in that accident investigation course, I was just telling the story yesterday to somebody else. It feels like I'm telling it, like it's like deja vu. They talk about this thing called death spiraling, and that is where you have this piece of evidence that actually is the key, and it's sitting over here. But you really think that what happened is because of what happened over here. So you spend all this time on this thing right here, when in actuality, right next to you is where the actual thing that caused the accident was. Okay, so we can do this thing called death spiral, and that death spiral is just a term that says you're narrowing your focus in on one thing and forgetting about what's over here. So the idea here from Mary is that the color is the issue. But a lot of times it's not the color that's the issue. It's the underlying tones that are informing how the colors look. So what we've done here is we've separated out that tone. Now we could even further separate this by changing this to the luminosity blend mode, so it only affects luminance value. But I am going to have this work on tone and color at the exact same time. And then we'll see what happens if we split it. So right now, I'm just going to go ahead and take a look at these shadows and give them a little bit more depth to them, a little bit more darkness to them, okay? So you see here, as I pull this down, those shadows get a little bit stronger, a little bit more powerful, okay? And you start to see the highlights start to pop out because we are working on the highlights and shadows basically independently, almost like we would with the slider in Adobe Camera Raw. Now I'll pull this up so that my shadows don't get so dark. They get a kind of like an edge to them. So this is going to help with the contrast. It's going to carry us from foreground to background, because as I see in this image, it feels and appears flat. And it feels and appears flat because the tonal presence isn't there, but the color intensity is. Now, if we get the tonal presence correct, the color should just fall in line and we won't even need to worry about our color. So this is actually an opposite way of thinking than we would think in terms of Mary's challenge here. So then with the brights, I'm going to just see what happens when I make those a little bit brighter. Just pull that up just like that. Okay. And if you look at our mask here, the brights are even in this area right here. So look at the shape of this wall right here and look at the amount of depth that it has now. So before it's flat because all of the tonal value is pretty much the same on this sidewall, but then the color comes in and is rather intense. So, well, it's not crazy intense, but it's more intense than the tonal value. If we fix the tonal value, the colors fall in line. You see that? The color just falls right in line and we get a sense of depth here. Let's see what happens if we change this to the luminosity blend mode instead of the normal blend mode. There's normal, and then here's luminosity. On the panel, it's even easier to do this. So we'll go luminosity blend mode, normal blend mode, color blend mode. It's really not going to matter much here. The color blend mode does, because now we're making this affect only the color that's in that area. So let's just change this back to normal. It doesn't really matter. In some cases, it will matter, like yesterday when we separated out the tones from the colors with the blend mode. But in most cases, unless you're doing a wild edit, it usually doesn't change much. Okay, and one thing that I want to kind of polish this off with is actually going to be like a diffusion effect to almost make that fog kind of match the story that I had for it when I was looking at this as a viewer. I kind of want it to feel like it's moving. So if I go to the effects and I go to a diffusion effect, which is kind of like an Orton effect, I can get this to the point where detail just goes away and press OK. And then this is going to be hideous. I get that. I'm going to drop the opacity on this until I get a diffusion effect that works for me for this image. And that might be right around there. And I'm going to say that this is only going to affect the lightest light areas and not the darkest dark areas. So I can either put a light luminosity mask on here or say only lights. This already has some blend diff in it, which it looks like it is blocking out those highlight areas. So let's say plus light luminosity mask. So it only goes into the lightest areas, period. And here's your before and here's your after. It's very subtle difference. But you see, this actually goes right in line with Mary's twist. And I did not plan this. The end image was selected randomly. But if you see here, the color work is more intense than the tonal work. So if the color work is more intense than the tonal work, you could be trying to reduce the intensity of the color when in reality you should be targeting the tones. That's why I like to work tone, color, then effects. Now, I don't know what Jane did here. Jane has been a follower of mine for quite some time and is an F64 Elite member, so she more than likely did tone, color, and effects. But sometimes little things can creep into that workflow if we're not really careful about every aspect of our tones and colors as we work through it. Great stuff, though. This is a great example of that. Very subtle difference, but it does create a sense of depth, and it actually makes that fog feel as if it's lifting and rising through that space instead of being almost just like a shot of it, right? But this is beautiful. I think it's beautiful. Very subtle things, but sometimes it's those subtleties that can set it off, especially when you are thinking about this in terms of tone and color like Mary is. And for our showcase image, we have this photo here from F64 Elite member HEIKE Lindner. Now, here's the thing. I did not pick this because she had the great twist yesterday, although it would be almost serendipity, wouldn't it? So what happened is when I go through and I look for these showcase images, I just look through all the entries and all I see are file names. So I saw this, it grabbed my attention. So I double clicked it, opened it in Photoshop. Then I looked at my spreadsheet and saw, oh, it's Heike's. So beautiful work, Heike here. You know, what I feel from this as a viewer is just a really strong sense of calm and peace. Sometimes we just need to look to nature to slow us down and realize that, you know, at the end of the day, this beautiful stuff is all around us. And I think that this image helps me in that. You know, as I'm looking through these images, I'm like, man, this is beautiful. I think it's doing a great job of just calming everything as I look at it. Regardless of if I have anything on my mind or not, this image is going to calm me. There's a beautiful representation here of complementary colors where that blue is actually rather strong. It takes up most of the canvas, but then you have these subtle hints of yellow. And what I love about this is you're almost using that light to kind of tell the blue to be more calm, right? To make that light touch those yellow leaves and make those yellow leaves stand out to me. I can almost see a direct connection between this light source here and these individual yellow areas where we have in between the trees. And it's definitely brighter in the areas where that light is hitting here. Everything seems like it was so deliberately done here. And, you know, I guess sometimes I tend to get the remove tool and remove people from images, but I don't mind the people in the image in this because they aren't a distraction. And I feel like they kind of add to that scene of like, I'm enjoying this nature. They're enjoying this nature. I just hope that they get the same sense of peace that I get when we enjoy this nature together. And I think that that is what's really wonderful about this. Have you ever noticed that when you're on a hike and you pass somebody, they'll say hi to you? But if you ever saw that person in the mall, they would just walk past you like you don't exist. Or if you were driving next to them, they might even cut you off. You know what I mean? But when they're hiking, when you're out in nature, everyone just says hi to each other. Maybe we need to do more nature. Thank you for sharing this with us, Heike. It's beautiful. So we've got our donation amount update, and I want you to hang out for a little bit because after I do the donation amount update and give you the updates for what's going on for tomorrow, we have a special announcement from SJ from Give Kids Art. And I really want you to hear this because it's a really nice, heartwarming thank you from their community to ours. So we are currently sitting at a total of $11,545. That comes from $1,443 from interactions here on F64 Academy, $5,102 from individual donors that have come together. We had 108 of those. And then that incredible donation from Circle of Dreams Foundation for $5,000. So our total, $11,545. This is truly going to make a difference for Give Kids Art, and you're going to find out exactly how that breakdown happens from SJ at the end of this. And again, I'm just grateful for all of you. Before we get to our special message from SJ, cool couple things happening right now in F64 Elite. Today, I just released the third episode in our first season of the Vision Sessions, where I go really deep with an F64 Elite member on their vision for one image. It's a 7-part video series per episode. So far, we've done 3 of these, and they've been a huge hit amongst the Elite members. Jay Halloran's was great, Brian Bukikio's awesome, and now we have Gary Shera. I just recorded Brad Glasses with him yesterday to finish his off for next month. If you think what we do here in the critiques is good, these vision sessions go incredibly deep. And I enjoy every ounce of every minute with these individuals as we look at their image to help them with something that they've struggled with. And we have a session at the beginning where we kind of talk about that image. I give them some advice on how they can fix it up. I go work on it. They go work on it. We come back together. And I got to tell you, I'm so proud of these individuals for where their vision comes after just one session. And Gary's is just as great as Brian's and Jay's. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And after I get done with this and press the render button, I've got 12 critiques that I'm recording for F64 Elite members that will be on the website tomorrow. So if you think that F64 Elite is just a place where, people just kind of come and talk to each other, it's not. F64 Elite is a community website, yes, but it is very, very reliant upon high quality photo education. All right, so give me a twist, give me a challenge. That one was great today. It was great yesterday. They just keep getting better. We've got 7 days left. And here is SJ from Give Kids Art.
Hello. Blake and F64 community. I'm SJ from Give Kids Art. I'm the one who's been communicating with Blake about this whole fundraiser, campaign, challenge, and it has been insanely cool. I just want to say thank you to all of you on behalf of me and our founder, Kara. We are literally blown away at the generosity of this community. I'm sure so many of you hadn't even heard of us before. We're a really small organization, and it's thanks to you and your belief in us that we can continue to grow and reach more children. We're growing faster than ever right now, and truly, every single dollar makes a difference. I wanted to put some of it a little bit in perspective, which I'm sure Blake has already done. Your money really goes a long way with the way our programs are structured. We help organizations like after school programs in underserved communities to deliver really impactful and social emotional learning focused art programs at no cost to them. But it's much lower cost than you would think based on the way that we do it. It costs us about $2,500 to deliver after school programming to 50 to 60 kids for a whole year, which is pretty incredible. And the other thing you've definitely heard Blake talk about is our art kits, which only cost $15 per kit, and they're packed with supplies that really could change the trajectory of a child's life when it comes to their creativity. So many kids in the communities we work with have little to no access to tools to express themselves visually. And I know because you're here, you care about that. So thank you for sharing in our mission to make sure that nobody is left behind. Just like Blake says, no photographer of any skill level is left behind in the process of learning this beautiful art form. We feel the same. Absolutely no circumstances should prevent any child from experiencing the magic, the healing, the joy, everything that art can be. So yeah, thank you all so much. We have 7 days left. We're so close to the end of the challenge. It's been so beautiful to watch. The impact has been tremendous and insane, and I can't wait to keep updating your community on what we get to use your amazing donations for. It's going to be beautiful. So thank you all so much, and thanks for being in our corner. We love you, F64.